Today's question is, what role does meditation play in my spiritual practice? Meditation plays a big role, but it doesn't play everything. It's not the entire practice of pursuing enlightenment. I've thought of it that way in the past, partly because I just wanted to get really, really good at it. But also because, you read stories about monks that go off in caves and just spend every waking hour of the day meditating until they find the enlightenment. They cross the finish line of finally understanding everything the way that it is. I really, really wanted to be that person. I also liked, the whole 10,000 hour rule, which has been debunked by a lot of other people, but it basically comes from a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, I think is his name, and it actually is a very interesting book. But it proposed the 10,000 hour rule, which is that once you cross the 10,000 hour mark, you've spent 10,000 hours doing something, that's when you're officially a master at it. And a lot of people have said, a lot of people put 10,000 hours into it, but there's nothing special about the number 10,000. A lot of it is just about how dedicated you are to the practice and how much presence of mind you're bringing to it. Are you fully engaging in it? Are you constantly pushing against your boundaries? There's a lot more to it than just the raw number of hours. But yeah, I wanted to eventually get to that 10,000 hours number, and I don't know if I ever will get to that 10,000 hours of meditating, but hey, that would be cool. But I have spent a lot of time meditating in my life. I've done it obsessively for weeks at a time in the past. Usually it's because my life is falling apart that I decide, okay, I'm going to dedicate hours a day to meditating, because I'm like, hey, if I cannot succeed in the human realm, maybe I can succeed in the spiritual realm. In some ways, I've used spirituality as an excuse not to take care of my stuff. And that is not something I would recommend either. But I do not regret all the hours I spent meditating, regardless of the motive for it, because meditating is wonderful. It's just great. And regardless of what spiritual insights it brings, which maybe I can talk about in a second, it just makes you feel good. It just makes you more able to handle the things that are coming at you in your life. What it does is it just grounds you. It just puts you down onto the planet. Or it puts you into reality when you are probably inhabiting the world of your mind so much of the time. Thinking about this thing from the past, or this thing that might happen in the future, or overanalyzing what's going on around you. What this person said this, what do they mean by it? What's all the subtext I could pull out of it? Meditation just sets all that aside, and it just has everything the way that it is. And you have just marvelous insights just sitting still, quietly. Especially when you start out, meditation's not going to be fun. I know people who are like, yeah, meditation just doesn't work for me because they've done it a few times and it's drives them crazy. It drives you crazy to sit there quietly, and you will not be able to keep a presence of mind. The first, I don't know how many times. I still can't keep a full, perfect presence of mind. I heard Robert Greene say, I have a dedicated 1 hour a day meditation practice, and he says that maybe at best I can stay present for 3 minutes at a time before wandering off into thought. Yeah, that sounds about accurate. But meditation is also a great reset. When I'm having a rough day at work like I was having today, going into my car or going into the break room and just sitting there quietly for... Sometimes I can bring it to a full 20 minutes. That's ideal. But, even if it's just for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, sometimes I just take a bathroom break and just include 2 or 3 minutes of meditation along with it. And I just feel so much more capable of handling whatever the day throws at me. I don't even care so much anymore these days about enlightenment. I more just care about being grounded and present. And ironically, it's when I'm not in pursuit of enlightenment is when I have the biggest sort of awakenings or insights and stuff, because I'm not forcing any sort of thing to happen. That was one of the most inspiring, counterintuitive takeaways from Byron Katie's book, Loving What is her just like, I don't care about enlightenment. I just care about the way things are. Which is funny because those two things are pretty synonymous. It's just that enlightenment comes with this idea of like, I have to get somewhere. And maybe that's the biggest problem with the 10,000 hour rule, is that it gives you the idea that there is a finish line in developing any sort of skill. It's not like that. There's the saying that before enlightenment you chop wood and carry water, and after enlightenment you chop wood and carry water. If you're on the path to mastery, recognize that it is a lifelong process. It is your entire life. I still haven't totally internalized that. I still feel like I'll get to some point where I'll just be cool and just coast at being that quality of person for the rest of my life. At the end of the day, all that we have to be all cliche ridden is just right now. When you're meditating, everything just is. It is the skill without an end goal to trump them all.